Hello, everybody. My name is Dandelion. I am your host, and welcome to the first and last episode of My Opinion for a Grade. And today, I'd like to ask you one important question. Have you ever looked at your closest friends after they've said something particularly stupid, I mean funny, and thrown out the idea, hey, we should start a podcast? Of course you have. Most of us do, unless your friends have a policy barring fun or are chronically, tragically unfunny. But most of us don't actually go through with the idea, and we shelve it for later, along with those half-baked plans for starting a YouTube channel, learning an instrument, one day, maybe, probably, and texting that one friend who you told, yeah, we should totally hang out again sometime, and then haven't seen for 2 years since. But what if I told you that out there in this great big world of ours, that there is a friend group with the confidence, the experience, and the audacity to make a podcast about some friends just goofing off a reality? YouTube personalities Markiplier, Meiskirm, and Lord Minion777, known on their podcast Distractible as Mark Fishbach, Bob Meiskins, and Wade Barnes, respectively, have done just that. Distractible is a podcast where pretty much anything goes, the overarching goal of each episode to be the man who brings the most interesting, amusing, and entertaining stories to the table. To spice things up, the general topic of conversation for each episode is decided by the host and consequent judge, who assigns points to their arbitrarily chosen favorite competitor throughout the episode. Points are sometimes kept track of, and almost always unfairly given and taken away, depending on who the current host feels like spiting that day. The competitor with the most points at the end of the episode, acquired justly or otherwise, wins the right to host the next installment. While the prompt for the episode is decided by the host, I wouldn't get too attached to it if I were you. Distractible is aptly named, considering the, considerable amount of rabbit holes and wild tangents the three presenters tend to disappear down at the drop of a hat. But the unpredictable flow of conversation is part of what gives this podcast its charm, and the authentic feel of three guys in a Discord call having a good time. It's personable, casual, and does a good job of welcoming new and old listeners alike. Distractible's content can range anywhere from inspiring, you can't see my sarcastic air quotes, but they're there, trust me, stories of outlandish and disastrous perseverance to a game show about becoming the most ridiculously immoral person possible, to brainstorming ideas of how to best traumatize a child into not eating candy with a visit from the Candy Uncle. Most episodes follow the typical formula, but exceptions are made frequently, branching out from the storytelling outlined into game shows, musicals, and on one memorable occasion, Bob's dramatic retelling of the comedy of errors that was his fridge installation for 49 minutes, hitting the benchmark timestamp for an episode that would usually rely on all three of them for sufficient content. Safe to say, Distractible is a podcast that aims to have their listeners laughing along with them, and delves into the comical and delightfully inane on a regular basis. The discussion can definitely be childish and even gross at times. Poop jokes and sex jokes are almost never inappropriate, and if that doesn't tell you what kind of podcast this is, then their previous podcast will. Mark, Bob, and Wade started their podcasting career well after they were already established YouTubers. Hosted not on a traditional podcasting site, but instead on the streaming platform Twitch, the three of them founded Three Peens in a Podcast. It launched in 2018 as a callback to an old gaming series the three of them did called Drunk Minecraft. I'll give you one guess for what that series was about. Three Peens in a Pod was impressively even more informal than Distractible is today, and never had any particular structure to it, mostly revolving around game-related conversation, accompanied by whatever multiplayer game they chose to play during that stream. The pod ran for 77 episodes for about 3 years, until in May of 2021, it was officially retired to make way for its successor, Distractible. As a piece of media, Distractible is significantly better managed in terms of organization, production quality, and accessibility than its predecessor. While still a relatively small operation, Distractible has a professional team behind it, while the pod was independently run. Distractible is produced by Wood Elf Media and edited by Will Dinolo. Wood Elf Media is a podcast production company that prides itself on being the home to all the funniest, nerdiest, and most out-there shows on the audio-only market. Notably, they specialize in passion projects from online influencers, which explains how Distractible found its place there, as all three hosts are well-known YouTubers. Those YouTube careers started all around the same time in 2012. All three quickly found their footing in the gaming community as Let's Players, which is what they still do now in 2023. As time went on, Markiplier started branching out his work into creative pursuits on the side, writing multiple choose-your-own-adventure type stories for YouTube, and 2 other podcasts with Wood Elf Media, Go My Favorite Sports Team and The Edge of Sleep. MySkirm and Lord Minion 777, meanwhile, have stuck to their guns and almost exclusively work with gaming content on YouTube and Twitch. Bob is most well recognized for the content he makes with his group of friends. On occasion, he's dryly instructed Distractible listeners to find his socials by googling Bob, friend of Mark, which does, in fact, work. I tried it. Wade, on the other hand, while also benefiting from collaborative works he's done with friends, is most well known for his Settlers of Catan playthrough. But throughout their careers, all three YouTubers have kept their friendship steadfast and collaborate on videos pretty often. Wade and Bob consistently make supporting appearances in most of Markiplier's creative projects, like In Space with Markiplier, for example. But pet projects and differing mediums aside, the trio specializes individually and as a unit in entertainment, and giving their audiences a good laugh. They all have extensive experience with onstage comedy from their college days, and in 2018 they put those skills, bolstered from their time entertaining on YouTube, to the test. The You're Welcome Tour was a primarily improv-based comedy show featuring Mark, Bob, Wade, and Ethan Nestor, another friend of the group, also a YouTuber. The tour stayed mostly within the United States, but visited countries all over the world. It was silly, lighthearted fun, and represents a lot of what Distractible embodies today. But that's not to say that all of Distractible's content is laid back and upbeat, though most of it is. It's a generally playful podcast that doesn't take itself too seriously, but don't be surprised when every great now and then you might stumble across an episode that revolves around serious, even philosophical discussion. Some of these weightier episodes that have stuck with me include the formidable ins and outs of fatherhood and understanding social masking. But if you, like myself, are just here for a good time, then fear not, Distractible is, and I say this affectionately, kinda dumb. There is literally an episode fully dedicated to Bob posing as Mark and Wade's hypothetical baby who they had to teach important life lessons to. At its heart, Distractible is a silly show, and it's supposed to be. It does exactly what its title implies, and it distracts you, gets you laughing. I won't say that it's suited to everyone's sense of humor, nothing is, but this reviewer found it hilarious. It has a great balance of structure, shenanigans, and chaos that keeps the episode format interesting. The hosts each contribute different traits of comedy to the show. Wade brings a lot of dad jokes, puns, and random humor. Bob's first language, I'm pretty sure, is sarcasm, and his wit is sharp as a tack. Mark offers earnest, good-natured comedy, and they all play off each other fantastically. It's easy to tell they've been friends for so long, and it's that familiar banter that makes Distractible so easy to listen to. The three of them are so comfortable clowning around together that listening to their banter feels very friendly, almost welcoming you into the group with the tone of conversation alone. The topics have a massive range, so it's great for those of us who need to switch things up sometimes, and are, do not pardon the pun, easily distractible. I'd say this podcast is a riot and an overall good time. 5 stars out of 5, easily. Now, as your reviewer and official host of this one-time podcast, I declare you, the audience, as winner of this episode. Congratulations! I was assigning points the entire time, you just weren't listening hard enough. There's not going to be another one of these, though, so you won't get to host next time, but what you do get is a free recommendation from yours truly to go give Distractible a listen. It's available on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever it is you get your podcast fix from.